Okay. Hi, welcome to another Lew Perspective. John, how
Hi.
are you today?
I'm well, Howard. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
What
Thanks.
What are we talking about today?
I thought we'd talk about our travel experiences.
Okay.
Something
some.
that I thought we have some things that maybe this year we like to do.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
traveling is a great opportunity
It's, and
for
it's
us.
always
to
a great
sort of
topic
explore
because
that. Yeah.
people love to travel,
Yeah.
experience new things, different things.
So now, in the context of traveling, I mean, I guess I would kind of think of places that I've gone.
Yeah.
I mean, from college days, I remember taking road trips and the experience of, sort of getting ready for it and kind of and going across kind of a cross country. It wouldn't be completely, but on spring break was.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Did you ever do any of that when you were?
We did very short trips for spring break.
Okay.
So like Vegas.
To Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Southern California is to Las Vegas. If anyone's familiar, it's not too far. It's a good 3-hour drive minimum. Not too bad, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we do, or Northern California maybe. Going up the coast.
Okay.
In California, that's a longer drive though. Not many people realize that's a good 7-8 hour drive.
I mean, taking the ride up the coast, San Francisco can, after a while, and if you don't take the super highway, you take the
scenic
route. It does take even longer because you actually have to cut through all the small towns. But that's always kind of fun, getting ready for that and kind of preparing for it.
True.
I remember having. I had this car that I bought back in college days, and I'm thinking,
Corona?
My Corona. You remember that?
I remember that. I'm never going to forget it.
And I fixed it up, but I thought, okay, I'm going to travel, the spring break, and I'm going to go out to Arizona from Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah.
How far is that?
Oh my gosh!
What kind of drive does that look like?
By the time I got back, I think I had done over 2,000 some miles.
Okay, so it's a good
round trip. Yes,
it's a good drive.
Easy because from there down through, and we actually at that time drove down through Texas and then out. So it was a road trip. While at the same time, it was kind of mixed with school stuff that I was kind of looking for. It was on spring break, and then coming back, I was going to take a different route. So it was kind of like the road trip. So it was kind of interesting in the sense that I actually went across the border for the first time.
State. You mean state? State?
No.
Border.
Yes, across the border.
You went down to Mexico?
To Mexico.
You went around this way.
I went down through Texas and then over to Arizona.
That's an interesting way.
And then down through, and I thought, well, I'm so close. I'm so close to, because the town was called Nogales.
Nogales, Arizona. Yeah.
Yes, Arizona.
Oh, isn't that near the border?
Yes, it's right. It's a border town. And I thought, we're so close. I'm thinking, it's spring break. Let's just cross the border. And I drove the car across the border. And of course, I didn't, you didn't need passports or anything like that. That was the first, that's the only time that I've actually gone outside of the United States at that time.
Okay.
Which was sort of, and I thought, man, it reminded me of the Western days, and you just kind of like,
just go.
Yeah. So anyway,
that was the first. What was the earliest memory of you traveling, like for your family? Did you guys do traveling with your family or anything like that?
It was interesting because I've lived in several states. I lived in a little town in Arkansas for a little while. I lived in Tennessee.
Okay.
And Nashville, Tennessee was probably my first recollection of travel between that point and Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I remember, and I was probably about, I'm going to say maybe somewhere between 3 and 4 years old or so. But I remember the Smoky Mountains. I think that's what it was called. The Great Smoky Mountains or something in Tennessee.
Okay.
And I was always wondering why did it call it the Smoky Mountains? But when we were driving on this road, I remember seeing the clouds, and I thought, well, maybe that's what.
So it looks like smoke.
Like smoke, and I thought maybe that's why they call it. I don't know.
I don't know why either.
And it was so small, so young at that time, and I remember that, and then in traveling through St. Louis,
okay,
and then Kansas City. I'd gotten older then, and so growing up in Kansas City, it was kind of like into St. Louis was kind of new to me, and then seeing the skyline, and then Kansas City, of course, was the location. But I remember just all the different scenes in between that, the places the towns that you stopped through, going through that, was kind of, and that was, I was a very young age. And then at that point in time, it's kind of like, you kind of grew up around Kansas City, and then going off to college. And I honestly, my first recollection of that going west, Kansas is sort of like in the eastern part of it, it's really hilly, kind of rolling hills and so on. And then as you get further out west, it turns flat, it's like you could fall off the planet or something like that. But
Interesting.
And so that was interesting to start going west of there, and it was like in the college days, I would traverse between Kansas City and the town of Manhattan, where the university was. And I used to think, who's out here? Especially you got west of Kansas City, and it looked like nothing but open plain,
right?
And I thought, I wonder what was it like for the cowboys and
like
the
with nothing,
with
like
nothing,
no
and you're
roads,
out there,
no anything,
nothing, and I'm thinking,
no dirt roads either, right?
It just open forever and on the plain. So I thought, well, I could see how Buffalo and all that would be in that time. So that kind of had your imagination, in that time frame. But that was interesting. Cool. What about you?
Me? Oh man, let's see. So my earliest memories, I don't have a lot. Like I don't know. I don't retain a lot of memories from my childhood. There's only certain things, but my memory was that we would take road trips.
Okay.
And we would travel in California.
Okay.
So my parents were teachers, but my mom liked the California missions.
Oh, okay.
So, if you're not familiar with the California missions, there's missions built all up and down California, right? I mean, from the northern to the southern. And I can't remember the exact amount of missions, right?
But it was a lot, though.
It was a lot. Yeah. But I know one of them, my mom's wanted to show us all of the missions. And we would get into the back of my dad's old Mazda 626. And we just drove up there.
So how long do you remember? I mean, just faintly, do you remember what?
It was a week. We went up the coast.
Okay.
And I want to say it was like we went up to Carmel or something like that.
Okay.
And we did like 3 or 4 or 5 different little missions there. I will tell you this. Me and my sisters did not like those trips because it was like educational.
Oh.
So we're like, oh, come on. Like, we gotta go visit a mission, learn about history. Like, come on. That was a vacation.
So how do you remember how old you were at that time?
I don't remember. I don't remember. It was maybe under 10. I don't know.
Really? Okay.
10,
you were like
something. Maybe we were older.
Okay.
But what we would do is like in the back seats, my sisters and I, we would just be like fake sleeping. So we're like, well, if we fake sleep, we don't got to get out of the car. We got to go see a mission. So we'd be like, parents know it already, right? They're like, yeah, you're going. Like, there's no point. You're going.
So now when you're in college, do you remember ever taking any road trips?
Road trips, yes. So in college and then kind of after college, Vegas was always one of those things. We would end up going to Vegas at least once a year, maybe twice a year, right? Summertime, maybe. And then like maybe for New Year's was one of the things that we would always go to see. So it was before all the craziness. So it was fun, right? Like we fireworks everywhere in Vegas. It was, it was different, right? Because LA, here where we are in Southern California, it's not open all the time. The bright lights aren't there. Right. Now, when you go to Vegas, it's like
light
you get
city.
Anything, whenever, wherever, it's always open. And of course, we were young, so we like to go to the clubs and we like to gamble and we like to do all those things that all those vices that you want to get out of your system and go from there. But yeah, Vegas, we did Vegas a lot. So.
Yeah. One other road trip now that you were saying that, and I was thinking about in college, I asked you that question, is that I remember the group of students, and we had rented all of us contributed to this. At the time, it was kind of a. I'm not sure. It was a Winnebago. I think it was kind of that kind of, and it was enough for. I think it was about 8 of us.
Nice. Okay.
And I had the sleeping things in it and whatever.
So you
so you could,
there and
you could
wouldn't
sleep
have to get a hotel.
and exactly.
Right,
so we were, of course, we were on college budget, and we were going down to our location. Our destination was New Orleans.
Okay.
And I'd never been there.
To New Orleans.
Yes.
Okay.
And actually from Kansas State, we were going to traverse straight down through Texas and then over through. So we did sort of a trip down through Texas, stopped in Dallas. There was a hurricane that was going on at that time. And,
Crazy.
And we were right there that evening in the storm trying to get from there. And we were going to, some of the guys wanted to go over to a location, I think it was called Natchez, Mississippi, which I'd never been in any of that part of the world. And so we traversed over to Natchez, Mississippi, where I think there was some plantation or something that they wanted to see. And so we kind of stopped there in that town. And it was an interesting experience because I remember being on that trip. And then, and it brought back sort of the mindset of what earlier times in America was, and the racism and all that stuff that was going on. And, they were looking at it historically. We were looking at architecture and the landscape themes, and et cetera. And then it was from there, we headed from there across to Louisiana. And so I was really sort of excited to sort of see what this part of the world was like. And I remember faintly, there was this bridge, this causeway, that looked like it went for miles. We were out driving this long lake Pontchartrain or something like that. That's the name of the lake that I faintly remember. But this bridge went for like miles.
So it went over.
It drove through the water. You're looking out, and there's nowhere, no turnaround. It's either straight ahead.
Yeah.
I can't remember, and I remember looking out of the window, waking up and thinking, "Water? Where are we? Out over the ocean or what?"
Yeah. Louisiana, right?
It was, and I think it was several miles.
Oh wow!
Of just straight. I know
it's still there today. I'm sure it's still there today.
I'm thinking of that.
Great photos over
there. That was it. And then we finally got to the Big Easy, as they call it. And it's like, and that was an experience. I'd like to go back and try that again.
To New Orleans. You haven't been back since?
I have not. It was on the college days, and it was kind of on a college budget. And, you kind of looking around and sightseeing, and it was all the stuff that was going on. And actually, I think it was just around Mardi Gras or something.
So it was a good time there.
Yes, it was early.
It was hot.
It was going on. I remember Bourbon Street, and that was a known place, and everybody, we all were looking, and they were all, sort of, on a, eating at, these small, little places. I wanted to really experience the food. So that was another thing, and that I remember doing in the college days.
That's fun.
Yeah, you had to see that. So in any case.
Well, so what was your first, so it sounds like how we've been talking, it's all road trips. Mm-hmm. When my family road tripped, your family road tripped in college, first time on a plane. Do you remember that? Yeah, my first time on the plane was actually coming to California during college. It was for, it was just, it was the semester before my final year. Okay. So college. You're early 20s?
Yes. Yeah. And I was coming out at the time. It was a girl that I was dating. Mm-hmm. She was doing an internship out here in Southern California. Okay. And so I was going to come out. When I finished my internship, I was going to come out about a week or so just before school started, and then go from Southern California up to San Francisco, then back down, catch our flight, and head back. And so the first time I'd ever gotten on a plane was at that time. And I remember being sort of excited, and I remember catching the flight out of Wichita, which is another sort of sizable town in Kansas. And I remember getting the flight there and then flying into LAX
Okay.
So
yeah, crazy.
So the time difference was, it was a couple hours, but that was sort of in my head thinking, I'm going to go out west. I'm going to be 2 hours earlier than I would have been, the time here. So I remember the evening. Seems like my flight landed like 8 o'clock in the evening here on the West Coast time.
Okay.
Which I was thinking it's only 6 o'clock. It should be, the sun should be up and it should be bright. And as I got off, the sun was already in its stage of going down.
Setting.
It was
it was what, or winter time?
This was August. It's August. Yeah,
it was already
August. Well, the sun was low in the sky.
Starting to go.
I'm thinking it's 6 o'clock in the evening, and typically in the Midwest, you didn't get dark until like 9. Something at night. So I'm thinking, well, it should be nice. It should be light. But as you know, it's 8:30ish.
Yeah,
we started to see the dimness of the sun going down over the horizon.
Okay,
and that's what remember that first experience and getting off in the craziness of LAX and where do you go?
Was it a big change?
Oh, absolutely! It was
from Wichita or to LA.
It was night and day difference, and then a little bit over. Because I remember. And it's so funny because at the time, I rented a car and I thought, okay, I'm good with maps, or at least I thought I would be good with maps. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just apply that to where we're going to go. We're going to go because she was staying at a place down in Huntington Beach.
Okay.
And she had a roommate. And so we were going to go back. We were going to leave the airport. I know Huntington Beach. In my head, I'm thinking south of the LAX airport. So all we're going to do is we're going to go south, get the freeway and go south. And so I got it kind of mapped out in my head and thinking, okay. And then I get in the car and we get out somewhere on the road and I start going and I'm like, okay, which way is south? Which way is north? So I thought, okay, I'll just pull over and I'll ask someone to just point me which way is south. So that way, and I'll figure it out from there. And I remember that. I think I'll never forget it. I just asked a stranger, and the person stood there for a moment, thinking, which way is south? And they said, I can't tell you which way south.
Oh, my gosh. What?
And I thought, oh, okay, no worries. And I thought, I can't believe there's no sign that says south or north. And I'm used to seeing, like, for example, in Kansas City, you'll see a sign that the interstate will say south or north. That I didn't see any of that.
Oh, interesting.
And so I ended up going north.
Oh, wrong way.
Yes, going north, thinking I'm headed south.
Oh no.
And then finally I realized, okay, this doesn't seem like it's going in the direction. And then finally I see a sign that said, this is going north.
Oh.
Before I had to get off. And of course, when you get off, there's
the roundabouts.
Yes, and you got to figure out your way.
How to get back.
Oh my gosh, that was it. Yeah, so it was interesting.
That's a
journey, and then going up the coast, went up Coast Highway, and then came back down the interstate.
Okay.
To catch our flight and back out to just in time for school for that year. So yes, that was the first time that I've been on a plane. The first time that I actually come out to California. Even though I drove the year before, drove out, and I was tempted when we went down to Mexico. I was tempted to. I saw the sign that said Los Angeles, only so many miles, and I'm thinking, I'm that close. I should just
go.
And I thought, I don't have time for that. I've got to get this. What about you? Your flight first.
I don't know. I don't remember. But I think it was family to Houston.
Okay,
is what we did.
Okay,
I think. I'm bad.
How old do you remember? How old you?
I was older for sure. So, like older. Well, maybe that wasn't my first flight then, but maybe it was. I don't know. I can't. I don't know. Like I don't. It's all jumbled to me. It wasn't distinct where like that was like a memorable event.
Okay.
Right. So I don't remember. It could have been either to Houston, Texas, or I don't think it was internationally. Maybe it was China. I don't know.
So do you remember your first international flight?
China, for sure.
So how old were you
went
then?
to China. I was in college.
Okay.
So I think I was a junior in college. So that would make me, what, 21-ish, something like that, early 20s.
Yes, I would say somewhere in that maybe.
So we flew out to China. I think I talked about this before. My mom wanted to see the Three Gorges Dam before it was constructed. So she wanted to see everything before they flooded it. Yeah. They flooded all the historical monuments and whatever it is. So we were out there in China for that. That's the only time I've been out to Asia.
Okay.
Was then. So that's 20 plus years ago now.
Wow.
That I've been out. They haven't been out that way.
That was your first.
That was my only. Yeah, that was my first international flight. Yeah.
I think mine was, and I think I mentioned it too, was to Seoul.
Was it Korea? Yeah. Yeah. You say Korea.
And that was the first time that, being out of the country, and so, in my head, I'm thinking that, and I'd flown between Kansas City and Los Angeles, I don't know how many times before, but to fly outside of the country, it was sort of the feeling was in my head at the time was sort of like, kind of the Wizard of Oz. I'll put it this way. You're not in Kansas anymore.
Okay. I thought you were thinking there's no place like home.
No, I was that too. That too, because being there, you're kind of thinking, okay, well, gosh, if something goes awry, where do you go from here?
What do you do?
We're like, at least 12 to 16 hours away by flight, and I know the flight was probably going somewhere between 400 to 500 miles per hour. So I'm thinking, okay, it's going to take a little while to get back home.
Yeah.
That was, you're kind of thinking, it's okay, get your bearings so they can get focused, that kind of thing. But
exactly.
And then I would say my second international flight was to London.
Okay.
To London for business. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was there for maybe 3 days or something. I remember.
Oh, it was a quick trip.
Yeah, it was a quick trip
for business.
For business, but we were there we flew in, and I think it was Heathrow that we actually landed in, but it was the Queen's holiday. We had no idea when we landed. So we saw everybody doing certain things, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. And finally someone told us that it's the Queen's holiday. And we thought, okay, so what, kind
what
of like,
mean? Yeah.
So, what does that mean? So it was a whole different kind of experience in that, aspect too. So, and again, got there just enough time to really start to want to see more. And I remember passing buildings and then seeing how old they were.
Yeah.
I remember seeing some of the buildings that said something like 1600. On the established 1600. And I was just trying to wrap my mind around that, thinking how old is this location? And the graveyards that look like in the movies that were haunted, kind of graveyards. And so I thought, wow, that's really, and I wanted to sort of grasp a little bit more time to really, really see that. So I'd like to go back and experience a lot of that. I've only been through flying, but in transit, but not.
You haven't had a
stopping.
chance to stop by, and
I would like to do that.
Do the vacation tourism thing. Fun.
So and then I think now up to date. I mean, we've done some stuff together.
We've been able to travel together. Fortunately, we've done road trips.
Yes, we have.
We've done trips where we have to fly as well. So, where do we? We've been to Vegas. We've been to
Zion.
Oh, yeah, in Utah.
So, and that was interesting to me because we did that road trip up there.
Yeah.
And I remember wanting to go there, because going to Las Vegas and then you go north. And I remember taking a road trip going into Las Vegas and then going north and then cutting across and heading straight over towards Kansas.
Okay.
On a road trip.
Yeah, on a road trip, yeah.
And I always thought it'd be really kind of neat to head up towards Salt Lake and not turn off and head that direction.
Yeah.
So when we did that road trip, that was really sort of kind of that awakening of thought and thinking, oh my gosh, look at all this land and wanting to, you see these pathways and you kind of wonder, and we kind of wondered about that. But
we did. I think we talked about it.
And
it was cool. Yeah.
And so, I think we did a brush fire through there in our cars.
Yeah.
You know,
it was quick.
Yes, it was.
But I think you're right. Like you just don't understand like what you're driving through, and so you're there and you're like, wow, remember I think what we looked at was like just the cliffs.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
So it's like we're like up, looking up,
and you
like, can see them from miles away.
And if you had time to stop and see that, I always thought, and I get kind of lost in thinking, you know, what it must have been like for early pioneers or explorers or wagon trains coming through here. And, you know, we have lights on our cars and we see this stuff and we see life of other people transing through the area. But imagine if you were in a wagon train, or maybe you were single, you're just a couple of guys that are riding horse headed west or east, and you're in this area. And I'm thinking, what that must have been like.
Right.
I mean, you feel really small in those spaces.
Super small, and then too, if you're coming from like Kansas, which is flat, well, you get hills, right? But then you come there and you see all these canyons and crevasses and you know, and then just the trees are huge. Everything's huge. Everything's green, red, right? The rocks were all red. I mean,
I would say that in the preparation for the horseback rider, he'd have to get through the Great Rocky Mountains.
That's true. So it'd be like, that's just a little thing. That's nothing.
I just
went all the way up and all the way down. That's funny.
That was interesting transit going through those areas too. So
it was a nice area. I think I really enjoyed just obviously the scenery. Everyone loved.
I think it's Earth's architectural. You know,
it's amazing.
It is. I mean, and it reminded me of two of the earlier times just before I came out, just as I was on my way out to California, stopping in Grand Canyon and Flagstaff.
Okay.
I'd never camped before, and I remember, thinking, okay, I can camp.
Yeah.
And on a college budget, I remember buying this little A-frame tent thing, and
like the ones you see,
just like that, okay, I'm going to go to a KOA. I think it was, KOA, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a campground, and you pull in there, and I had never done it before. And so you're going to camp out, you got to set the tent up, and you got to put all this and get ready. Then I'm thinking, okay, I can do this stuff right here, and I did. Okay, and that night in Flagstaff, and I remember the wind being, really, it got over the night. It got really cold.
Oh no,
got really cold, and then the wind is whipping, and I'm thinking, man, it sounds like a storm. and I thought, okay, well, the next morning you get up and it's cold, but you got to go and shower. And then I'm thinking, okay, we're going to head down to Blazing Land, which is Phoenix, Arizona. We're headed that way. Okay, I get down there, KOA again.
Same thing.
But it's blazing hot by the time we got there. It is like, and where in Flagstaff, when I put those spikes in the ground in Arizona, you needed one of those jackhammers.
That's great.
So anyway.
Oh man, that's good time.
But yeah, it was.
That was good.
A few of those explore, and I'd like to do more of that. I wish I could tell myself that I was an outdoor camper, but I would like to try that again.
You go for it. I'm not. I'm getting that hotel or something. I'm going whatever. I'm staying inside the room, the hotel, the buildings.
I would like to try that. Didn't say I was going to. I said I'd like to try that. So in any case, any ideas for upcoming trips or anything?
Well, maybe. I think we're probably going to be planning something later this year. Hopefully we can. Hopefully we can do that again together. Yeah, because I think it's been a few years since we've traveled together. Then hasn't it? A couple years.
Has it
more than a couple years. 3 years.
It's been that long already.
Yeah, our last trip was Hawaii, right?
You're right.
So it's been 3 years.
So Hawaii
was great though.
We got to make up. Fun. We got to make up some time then.
Yeah, so we got to do something. So maybe we'll plan something else. Maybe we'll do a cruise or something. Cruise.
That's a new one.
Down to Mexico, right? Your favorite, I know you want to go there, so let's
I'm gonna do that.
Let's do it again.
And then just the Bahamas, that would be great to do that.
So. Or let's go to Hawaii from here, right?
Oh, okay.
But I don't think we have time.
We'll let you guys know once we do this.
Once it's planned.
I will come back again to our travel experiences.
So
in any case, again, we like to close out with the thought of kindness.
Yes.
And any ideas of kindness that you'd like to say to everyone, other than
our normal stuff, which is what we always say. We hope, we are on repeat on this stuff sometimes, and we just again want to emphasize that the smallest gestures can mean the biggest things to anybody.
Absolutely,
because we don't know what anyone's going through in their day.
Even a smile. A smile to someone,
smile, right?
Would really be an act of kindness. So
thank you and a hello, or something like that. Just the small things.
Yeah.
Start small, and small things can turn into big things, right? So
we like to challenge you to provide an act of kindness to someone that you may not know.
Yeah, exactly.
With that, we'll close out. And
follow us on our social media accounts: YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok. All 5.
You got it, sir.
I got them all.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.